So, yeah, Mexico está eliminado. So I'm Adam86 and welcome back to another episode. Probably the final episode, or definitely the final episode of my Mexico in Qatar series that I have that's covering Mexico in the World Cup. Obviously, as everyone knows by now, it's been a couple of days. Mexico got eliminated at the group stage. It turned out to be quite stressful and quite close, actually. Let's get straight into it. So Mexico had Saudi Arabia in their third game. It was a massive test because Saudi Arabia beat Argentina, and I think they were unlucky to lose against Poland as well. So Saudi Arabia on paper was the easiest game in this group for Mexico, and even then it turned out to potentially not be because obviously, like I said, the results that Saudi Arabia had this World Cup. Um, this is one of the hardest groups actually to predict because Poland, Argentina, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia. You'd think that there was going to be a big fight on for the second spot at least, and there was. Um, Mexico could have gone through if Poland had won big. They could have gone through if Argentina had won big. Obviously, Mexico had to win against Saudi Arabia. That was the first objective. And the second objective is to see what happened in the other games. Obviously, Argentina played Poland at the same time. So, so what turns out that Mexico ends up having. I mean, Mexico dominated this game. By the way, the best game by far that the Mexico have played in the World Cup, and probably one of the best games Mexico played for quite a while actually. Dominated the game. Should have been leading from very much earlier on in the game. We ended up getting a couple of goals. Chavez was an absolute amazing free kick. I mean, that goal was so amazing. Um, and I mean, I would put a clip on it, but I can't bother to edit this video. I'm just gonna record it as I speak it. I'm gonna be coughing. I've got a cough, so I'm gonna be coughing throughout this video. Um, we've got two goals. Saudi Arabia ended up getting a goal back, which sucked. It didn't really change anything, that goal. So basically, at one point, Mexico were winning 2-0. I think Argentina were winning 2-0. And Mexico needed one more goal to get second spot. Because I think Mexico and Poland were level on points and goals scored by that point. But it went straight through to discipline, so it went straight through to the yellow cards, and Mexico had like 3 yellow cards more than Poland. Poland ended up getting a yellow card, so there was only 2 yellow cards difference between the two. And eventually Saudi Arabia got a goal back. But it was like unlikely by that point that Mexico were going to get their third goal or that Argentina was going to get a goal. Argentina missed a penalty. Messi's just apparently horrendously bad at penalties. That penalty had gone in, ironically enough, probably still wouldn't have gone through. I think the goal Saudi Arabia scored kind of would have cancelled that out. But at one point, we were looking like, okay, Mexico are going to get knocked out because of 2 yellow cards. But it ended up, Saudi Arabia ended up scoring a goal. Mexico got the win the first game they scored in. Um, and the first win of the tournament, and it turned out to be not enough. Surprise, surprise. Everyone's talking about. I'll say everyone. A lot of people are talking about the Argentina game. For me, the difference maker was the Poland game. If that Poland was a win for Mexico instead of a draw, I think obviously that would have changed the whole aspect of the group. Um, the first game of the tournament, drawing against Poland I thought was a good result. I thought that Argentina were going to win against Saudi Arabia and win against Mexico. So I think, okay, by game two, Argentina is probably going to be on 6 points. Poland may be on 3 points. They may be on near 0 points if Mexico can win the first game. Um, and then if we can win against Saudi Arabia, then it'll be 6 points as well, or at least 4 points to Saudi Arabia's 3 or nil. Um, didn't work out that way. Saudi Arabia winning against Argentina really threw the group up in midair. It was always a tough group for me. Mexico had a harder group. I think USA had an easier group. I think Costa Rica had an easier group. I think Canada had an easier group. Um, in the sense that Argentina and Poland both on paper probably better, the best two teams in the group, but Mexico you can't ever rule them out. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much what happened, and then obviously Mexico getting knocked out at the group stage for the first time in 44 Lincoln years. Um, and while it's gutting and it's heartbreaking, really, but it's also the fact that Mexico came so close to staying in. But it shouldn't have been up to the last day. Mexico have been playing. The tactics were all wrong. Argentina game. I mean, the first half was all right, but the second half was just blown out of the water. I mean, Mexico was swept away in the second half against the Argentina game. And the Poland game, the lack of strikers. I mean, Jimenez barely played. Probably was not worth taking him. Funes Mori didn't get any minutes. Was it worth taking him? And Henry Martin started two games. I think he played well in the Poland game. No, not Poland game. I think he played well in the Saudi Arabia game, even though he didn't get a goal. Um, I think he still played well. And then um, oh, I've lost my train of thought. So yeah, I mean, it's gutting. It's really gutting. But like I say, it is a. Remember what I'm talking about. It is a disappointment because it got so close, but it's not too much of a shock. I mean, a lot of Mexico fans had braced themselves with the fact that they probably will go out in the groups. Um, but for me, it's like it's so close. For me, it's difficult because on one hand, if Mexico got battered by Saudi Arabia, that's an embarrassment. At least Mexico got a win, for goodness sake, They got a bigger win than a lot of the other CONCACAF teams as well. So, um, like Canada didn't get a single win. Costa Rica, I think, got one win, but they got knocked out, if I'm not mistaken. USA obviously got their one win, barely against Iran. Um, so, but they've yet to score more than one goal in a game. Um, So I mean, yeah, that's my feelings on it. It's really gutting. It's really embarrassing. The first time in 44 years, Mexico is synonymous with at least the fourth game. Trying to get to the fifth game, and obviously that's going to happen. Not going to happen now until next year, next time, which will be in 4 years' time. So let's just talk about where that leaves Mexican football now. So obviously, Tata Martino came out in this press conference after the game and said, look, categorically, clearly said, look, my contract ran out as soon as the ref blew the whistle, the final whistle. So that set Twitter in uproar because it was like, okay, he's leaving because obviously Mexican, most 99% of Mexican fan base wants Tata Martino gone. It's not just down to him, and we'll talk about that as well, but it's largely due to him. It's his roster. It's his roster that a lot of people have a lot of issues with. Um, and it's his tactics as well. His decisions in this tournament haven't been right. Saudi Arabia, he got right, barring Saudi Arabia's goal. Um, but it was too little too late. There's a widespread belief that he deliberately screwed the team over so that Argentina could win that game because he's Argentinian. That's gonna happen. I don't believe that, but it's easy to see why people would use that as a rod to beat Tata Martino with. Um, but somebody else quite widely pointed out, I think it was one of the media people, journalists or whatever, said that because he said that is because that's his contract. He's up, but the federation can still renew his contract if they wanted to. They haven't come out and announced yet. And, I'm recording this on the 3rd, which is probably the early hours of the 3rd, Mexico time, US Western time. Um, and the Federation hasn't come out yet and said, oh, yeah, Tata Martino is leaving. But they have come out and said that there's going to be an internal review. They've got like 6 months to review Mexican football in total. We'll get to that in a minute. But they haven't mentioned him leaving, so it's technically there's a very real possibility that he could be staying. It'll be not well received if they announce that he's staying on for the next 2 years or whatever. That's not going to be received well. Like Mexico needs a new coach, pretty desperately, in my opinion. Um, and then you're looking at the team. There's a lot of players in that team that for me shouldn't be there anymore. There's an aging back line. Johan Vasquez didn't get any game time. Montes blatantly now is probably Mexico's best centre back. He's still not in Europe. He's still in Mexico. Um, Artiego was hardly. I don't think he got any minutes. Um, Gallardo did well. Like I was having a conversation with a mate on Twitter, and he was saying, "Look, Mexico did better. Mexico, Gallardo did better than everyone else thought. Everyone thought he was going to, but that doesn't really mean that he played well. But I think he did play well, and he did do better than I thought he was going to. Trying to stop coughing. Um, but he from this point he should not be Mexico's starting left back. That should be Arteaga's spot now. He's the one in Europe. He's doing alright with games as well. I think he deserves to get a bit of a step up. An Eredivisie club would be perfect to him, or maybe a Serie A club mid level. Um, so then you're looking at the right wing. Jorge Sanchez got a lot of stick. Can't. I don't see why people have so much of an issue with him. I don't know why. I think some people because he's in Club America. I don't like Club America, and they're my rivals, but I don't hate them to the point where I hate all the players that have ever played for them. There's a lot of Chivas fans, or say a lot. There's a few Chivas fans that just don't like Raul Jimenez because he played for Club America. Um, I love Ochoa. Like, I love Guillermo Ochoa. He's one of the reasons why I fell in love with Mexican football in the first place, and I can't imagine not liking him, even though he plays for Club America. And I don't like Club America. And there are Club America fans that I don't get on with. Um, but Jorge Sanchez got a lot of stick. I don't see why. I think he's going to be Mexico's starting right back for the foreseeable future. I think Kevin Alvarez has made a stamp on it. Um, he's super young though, so I think he's going to be more of a long term thing. Julian Araujo as well didn't get called up, but I really rate him. I think he could do well. He needs to get his European move sorted. Um, and there's another one as well. I think Emiliano Lyra. I think he can be in contention as well. Left back's a little bit more thinner. Maybe Eric Aguirre. Um, there's a couple of other players that I've forgotten about, but there's a lot of players in this squad that should not be there from now on. Raul Jimenez, I think his time in the national team's up, which is crazy because he's still playing in the Premier League. He's just too injury. He's too damaged from his injury now. I don't think he's too old as well to really regain what he lost from that horrific head injury that David Luiz accidentally, you have to say it, caused, but it pretty much almost ended his career. He hasn't been nowhere near the same since, and I think his days at Wolves are numbered as well, because they got a new coach now, if I'm not mistaken. The ex Lopetego, whatever his name is, the ex Real Madrid coach. And I don't think Raul Jimenez is going to stay at Wolves for too much longer. Henry Martin, he did alright, but limited time now. And Funes Mori, see you later, bro. Thanks for your help, but nah, we're done with you now. I think it's going to be Santi Jimenez needs to be brought in and just incorporated into the national team as soon as possible. I would have JJ Macias as well. Dodgy, injury prone. He always seems to be on his way back into Chivas and then gets injured again, and then he's out for ages, and then he gets back, and then he's just about getting back into it, and then gets injured again. It seems a bit of a rotation right now, but I think he's worth a go. Um, we'll see how it goes with his injury, but we need to start thinking about other striking options. Don't think Chicharito should come back. I think he should have been involved in Qatar, but I think his time is in the national team is done as well. Uh, and there's a few other people. There is a group of Mexican youngsters. Um, Diego Lainez, I'm not too bothered about him not being in Qatar because he's got a bit of an atrocious club situation going on right now. He went to Betis, was never used in Betis really, and he went on loan to Braga, who's a club that wanted him and who specifically asked for him and won't play him. You got a game. He was playing with Braga one of the 10 times. I think it was the Argentina game. The same time the Argentina game was on, he was playing with Braga, and I don't think he did that much well there either. I think he played for about an hour or so. Um, I would love to see him in the national team, but he needs to sort his club situation out first and stay in Europe and just get decent game time in Europe. Um, I think Chavez, I mean, some people saying that he's too old. I think Chavez, for the next couple of years, should be involved in the national team. And he should be going to Europe as well. There was Leverkusen, I think, tweeted about him. And I think it's been official that they've really seriously inquired for him from Pachuca. Um, that'd be cool. And then obviously Alexis Vega has always been rumoured with the national team. There's rumours that he's going back to Chivas and that Chivas' new coach wants to use him. I kind of hope not. I've got a funny feeling that he didn't do enough in the World Cup to warrant a European club being in for him. Maybe the whole relationship with PSV that Chivas has might come to fruition and might get him a spot, but I've got a funny feeling he's going back to Mexico. So that so there's a generational shift now. Acevedo's going to come in for Ochoa and goal and all that. There's loads of players that I can rattle off. But basically, there's a generational shift that should have happened before this Qatar World Cup, but it should happen now. We just pull the plug, flush out a load of the old players. All respect to them. Gaddardo, I think his time is done. He's got his caps record now. He's got his 5 World Cups now. He's honoured. He's one of the best Mexican players ever. I think top 3 in my opinion. But that's that done now. That door has to be closed now, and bringing a load of new players in, young players that are hungry and willing to fight and they've got high ceilings. That brings me into the league issue. As I said earlier, that Tata Martino's a big problem, but he's not the only problem. The big problem for me, the biggest problem, is Liga MX is the National League for Mexico. There's been a lot of negative changes to this league in the last couple of years, and I think it's had a detrimental effect, and I think we're seeing that now. The big one is obviously no promotion and relegation anymore. There is a secondary league, but there's no promotion or relegation. So there's no punishment for clubs now if they don't get into Liga regularly, if they don't win leagues regularly. I think there's really relaxed rules on how many Mexican players each Mexican club has to field each starting 11. I think that's been relaxed as well. So there's no Chivas. Chivas are a prime example, and I hate to say this. It hurts me to say this, but they don't have to improve. Chivas doesn't have to improve. They don't have to get Liga every year. They don't have to win the league every year. Because there's no relegation, there's no consequences. So why put the effort in? Why put the money in when there's no punishment? There's no emphasis. Obviously, Chivas want to be in the Liga. They want to be winning trophies, but they want to do it doing the bare minimum, buying the bare minimum, spending the bare minimum. promoting from the youth system to the bare minimum. And it's not just Chivas, there's a lot of teams. Club America have a little bit of a dip right now. Tigres are buying left, right, and centre from Europe and from South America. They're not promoting from within, they're not creating Mexican players. All the big clubs really are not providing new Mexican young talent for the league and then for the national team, except for Pachuca. Atlas have done it a little tiny bit. Santos Laguna did it a little tiny bit, but mainly it's Pachuca right now. Even Cholos as well have provided some youngsters. Um, that's a worry. Like even when there's promotion and relegation, there was real jeopardy. And you could argue Chivas would have been relegated by now if the relegation hadn't been scrapped. Um, and you mix that with the fact that Mexican players are so expensive and so coveted in Liga MX. Um, and it's even worse for Chivas. So, Alexis Vega, for example, could go for 10, 15, 16 million USD to another Liga MX club. But that's European club's not going to pay half of that at all. I'd have to say quite rightly. I mean, the talent he's got is amazing. I use him as an example. I'm not picking on him because he's my favorite player. He's one of like him and Bukayo Saka and Martinelli are my favorite players. Period. He's my favorite Mexican player right now. He's just overtaken Chucky, but like Chivas, if they wanted to, could sell him for loads of money in Mexico. So now you've got a situation where Mexican players are more valuable in Mexico in a league that's actively probably not going to challenge him, not going to force him to get better and punish him for not doing enough, if that makes sense. A Mexican player knows now that he can get an easier ride in Mexico and get more money for it. In Europe, he's going to be constant, and Artega's found that out. Edson Alvarez found that out. Jorge Sanchez is finding that out right now. And Diego Lainez, you have to prove yourself every day in training, every game, every day, every game, and every little bad thing that happens, you're gonna get punished for it. You can be quite easily benched in Europe. That none of those players I've listed will probably ever get benched in a Liga MX club. They'll be the number one of the first 11 on team sheet week in week out. Excuse me. So you've got a league now where it actively encourages Liga MX clubs to sell their Mexican players within the league. In a league now where it's easier to win it, it's easier, it's easier. There's no relegation, there's no jeopardy, there's no risk, there's no fear anymore. And therefore there's no impetus to improve and provide new better players and improve the league and improve yourself and improve the clubs. There's none of that right now. So Alexis Vega, I know that he wants to go to Europe, and but if he wanted to, he could quite very very easily stay in Mexico. He could say, look, sell me to another Liga MX club. Chivas will be well up for that because they'll get quite a lot of money for him, and they can reinvest that into the club, or pay their owners or whatever they're going to do because they're not going to spend it on players. That's Mexico in the situation now where US was in 4 years ago, and what the US did, they realized that the MLS is just not good enough. The MLS has produced one or two, a handful of players, Matt Turner being one of them. The only one I really know because obviously I'm an Arsenal fan. But mainly what they've done is, okay, the league's generally not good enough and we're probably not going to create our own products. We're just going to ship them all out. Any kind of half decent player that we have that's 18, 19, 20, we're going to ship them to Europe as soon as possible. Any club in Europe, and it tends to be mid club Bundesliga teams. There's a lot of Americans in like Schalke and Hamburg and all that. Um, and championship level teams as well in the UK, in England, like Josh Arden, all that from come up with Norwich. That's what they've done. So then now they're reaping the rewards of that because Pulisic didn't start off in the MLS. Pulisic, if the MLS was like Liga MX, Pulisic would still be in the MLS because he would be one of the most valuable players to them. Um, but that's the difference. US players aren't that valuable in MLS the way Mexican players are in Mexico. Um, so yeah, they shipped all their players off to Europe. They've got a lot of players now. Most of their, I think, nearly all of their starting 11s for all of their games have been European based. There's quite an interesting as well because it's created quite a divide in the US fans base where you have the MLS fans versus the players in Europe fans. It's quite interesting. I'm not taking the piss. I'm like, it's genuinely interesting to see the two have a go at each other because it's like, well, you're all Americans, like they're all American players, but there is still even the US fans have a bias against their own league. But that's not the case in Mexico. Most Mexicans love Liga MX, and they love the teams, and they want Mexican players to play well in that league. But if there's no promotion or relegation, if there's no um, risk, then teams aren't just gonna actively. If you're gonna sell Alexis Vega to Tigres, for example, for 60 million, but there's relegation and Tigres need to win the league to stop themselves from being relegated or something stupid like that, then Lex Vega's going to try more. The team's going to try more. The coach is going to try more to win that league, and it's going to make the league more interesting. And he's going to get better because he's playing in a bit more of a competitive environment, and we're going to get entertained because they're all playing better. And if he's playing the top of his peak and he wins the league at a really top level team in Liga MX, he could attract interest from Europe. So it's all kind of mixed together right now. It's not just Tata's gone, everything's great now. It's who the hell do we bring in? Like, I'd like Matias Almeida, but it doesn't look likely that's going to happen. A lot of people want a Mexican coach. Is Miguel Herrera going to be the guy? I don't. I mean, probably. Could he do a better job right now than Tata Martino? Hell yeah, for sure. But is he like the go-to guy? Is he going forward? I'm not quite sure. He hasn't done that great in Tigres. I'm not quite sure if he's great at promoting youngsters and really. Because whoever they bring in for the coach has to completely revamp the national team and make it a lot younger. Um, and then also the league has to be sorted out. They've really got to sit down and if you're gonna keep the league as it is, no promotion, no relegation, and no real emphasis on playing Mexican players with a certain amount of players, a certain amount of minutes or whatever, then at least make it easier for players to go to Europe. So the players that are brave enough and hungry enough can go to Europe, get their opportunity and improve. Because you'll still have your league, you'll still have whatever you want going on in Liga MX, but the players that probably will be playing in the national team can be in Europe, training day in, day out, improving day in, day out. Um, and, you know, I mean, I don't know. And then, the final thing I want to talk about is the fact that Mexico have already qualified for 2026 because obviously they're co-hosts. That's dangerous because that takes away all the World Cup qualifying games. I don't think we're in the Gold Cup this next year or whatever. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure we're playing incredibly a low amount of games between now and 2026, which is not great because you rob then of opportunities to experiment and to play new players and work out, do what Tata Martino spent, wasted so much time doing because he didn't follow through. Um, like Marcelo Flores, you want him to get plenty of game time in the national team, but there's only so many friendlies, and there's not really any competitions now. There's not even any Olympics, if I'm not mistaken. I think U20s didn't get qualified for the Olympics, so you can revamp the squad all you like, but if you don't have enough chance to try these players and we'll try this player in this position with them, and then we'll change it. We'll change the whole starting 11 for the next game. You're gonna have reduced opportunities to do that. I'm extremely worried that the federation is gonna sit back and go, okay, well, we'll keep the Liga MX as it is because it's making us money, and we don't really want to make it too much difficult. And we don't really need to change too much in the national team anyway because we are qualified anyway. What's the point? And I think the danger of that is that um, we're going to go into 2026 with incredibly old, done players that are finished and do even worse than we did in Qatar. Um, I really hope this is a wake up call for the federation, the people high up that are in charge that are getting all this money. Um, because Mexico deserves to be in the knockout stages of the World Cup each and every time. I think it's a detriment to the World Cup not having them there. And a lot of changes need to be done, and I'm not confident at all that any of them is going to get done. I think Tata Martino leaving will be the easiest one to do, and I think that'll be the most likely. But I don't think there's going to be a wholesale change in the national team roster. I don't think there's going to be. There should be a sweep. 90%, 85% of the squad that was there in Qatar gone. Like, see you later. Thank you for your service. Bye. And then bringing a whole new generation in, and have them train for 4 years, developing with each other. I don't see it happening. I hope it does because Mexico deserves to be in the World Cup, like I said. But I don't know. It is what it is. I mean, I've rambled on too long. I've kind of explained what happened in the World Cup and what's going to happen and what I think is going to happen, what I hope's going to happen. Let me know in the comments, like, what do you think the answer is? Who do you think the next coach is going to be for a start? Because they absolutely cannot keep Tata Martino. I mean, I think that's proved now that he's just not good enough. Along with all the defeats to the USA in the last year and a half, like, enough's enough. We need a new direction. Hopefully, we go through someone young. I love Matias Almeida. I think he's my number one. Pochettino's out there. Tuchel's out there. Like, why not? Why not get Pochettino? The thing is with Pochettino is he's another Argentinian, but he's worked with young players, and he gets the best out of good players. And I think it would be quite interesting to see. And I think a young coach will be naturally drawn to younger players. Um, and the fact that he's a young coach and he'll have 4 years, he can really build a project within this Mexican team because there are gems. There are really good young players that haven't been included in Qatar that should. Acevedo, for example, Marcelo Flores, all players that I've mentioned. Santi Jimenez should have been involved in Qatar. Europa League top scorer should be involved in the World Cup if his country's in there, and he should have been involved. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. This is my last video for this series. I think it might be a little while. I might do a video if Tata Martino gets sacked. I'll definitely do another video if there's a new replacement coach announced. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching the series. Thanks for watching all my videos. I know that some of you watch all of them, and it's great to see. I love that. Just put a comment down below and we'll have a chat about it. So yeah, take it easy, guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Adios.